Welcome to Heather's Full Catastrophe. So I wanted to explore that question I asked in my last video with how did I get here, where my life is actually pretty awesome. From there, when I was very, very sick and barely functioning, how did I make that difference? And I wanted to also think about what was the simplest, most basic kind of activities and practices that I put into place, because obviously it had to be so simple and take so little time that I could manage it because I was so overextended. So what was that? What I started to pay attention to was what was my input. Input of all kinds. What kind of people was I spending time with? What sort of content was I watching, either on TV or on my phone? What sort of content or information was I taking in on my phone, like on social media sites? What was I listening to? If I was listening to audiobooks or stuff in my car, was I listening to music? Was I listening to, what was I listening to? All the different forms of input. Also, what was I taking into my body? What sort of food was I eating? What sort of stuff was I drinking? All of it. And at first, all I did was pay attention. Just noticed. What was I doing? How was I spending my time? What were my inputs? Didn't make any changes whatsoever. Just noticed what I was doing. So that's what I invite you to do for the next week until I make another video and put up step 2 and say what happens next. Just pay attention to your inputs. What are they? Where are they coming from? How much time are you spending there? If you want to take it to the next step and maybe put that thing on your phone where you time, how you spend your screen time, but that's only going to take into account what's on your phone, if you want to make notes about how you're spending your time. But please do not make a single change to your behavior at all. Just notice. That's all you have to do. So, yeah, it's an interesting exercise, and I continue to do it now. And most recently what came up is I realized that much of the content I was taking in was political humor. And while it was funny and one way to kind of keep up with the news by having it spoon-fed to me by amazing comedians, particularly Trevor Noah and Stephen Colbert are 2 of my very favorites, still, how was it making me feel? What was it doing for me? And so I just noticed for a little while, how much time was I spending? And then I realized, oh, I'm also listening to an NPR podcast in the morning. And oh my goodness, I'm also listening to that book, Fire and Fury. And wow, I actually am taking in a great deal of political content throughout the day, throughout the week. I'm actually taking in a great deal. So that was step 1, is just noticing. Oh, there's Aloha, saying hi. Well, welcome. I look forward to taking this journey with you. I call it a year to radical change. Just small steps that take minimal time and effort that you can do on a daily basis. But by this time next year, it'll feel totally different. Everything will feel totally different. So join me if you like. Welcome to Heather's Full Catastrophe.